Welcome to Cadence Rose. Today we're going to be doing something really exciting. This has been something I have been researching for a very long time, so I'm so excited to share this with you today. I'm going to be showing you what natural colorants I use to get the full rainbow of colors, and I'm going to show you how to do it so you can achieve those beautiful natural colors in your soap. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to take an individual bar mold, and I'm going to make 6 individual bars of soap that are going to be different colors of the rainbow. We've got red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and they're all going to be done all naturally. I'm going to show you how to do it and how to do this properly, and I'm going to give you a recipe. So this is the recipe for this. Now this is, very carefully split into 6 different colors so I can make six different bars. So of course you're probably not going to be doing 6 different bars of soap, individual colors at your house, but if you do want to try out this recipe, you can. We've got coconut oil, 33%, that is 7.26 ounces. We've got palm oil, sustainably sourced, that is 32%, 7.04 ounces. Rice bran oil, that is 30%, and we've got 6.60 ounces. And then olive oil pumice, 5%. 1.10 ounces. We have some lavender essential oil. Make sure to use EO Calc and to check your suppliers for their usage rates, but we're using lavender because lavender is a clear essential oil. If you use an essential oil like orange or patchouli or one of those that has a brown or any type of coloring tint to them, they will change the color of your soap and you might not get that desired color that you want. Because it is like color theory, if you have a certain hue in a essential oil, it will alter the color in your soap to make it something different. So if you are really trying to get a perfectly crisp, true to color soap, you want to try to stick to clear essential oils. We've got a 50-50 water discount. We've got 3.16 ounces of lye and 3.16 ounces of water. Adjust the superfat based on your skin needs. So that is what we're going to be doing. So first we're going to start with yellow. So yellow, we are using a infusion. What we use to get yellow is something called annatto. And how we make our infusions is we take oil, so you can use olive oil or sunflower oil, something like that. And I have the full tutorial on this, but I'm going to give you a quick rundown. You don't have to make them this big, but you take a couple tablespoons of whatever you're using. So we've got annatto seeds down here at the bottom. We took a good amount for this big jar, but we took a couple tablespoons, put them at the bottom. And then you fill it up with your oil. This is olive oil pumice. And then you put this in the crock pot on low for a couple of hours. And then you can let it infuse, because you can do cold or hot infusing. Cold infusing takes a bit longer. So if you do a hot infusion, you can just heat it for a couple hours. For this batch, we have 1 ounce of this infusion. So you can translate that to bigger recipes. And we've got our lye solution. All we're going to do is we're going to pour our little lye solution into our yellow. And that's all you do. And what you do for your infusion, say you have 10%, just, outside of this recipe, you would put 1 ounce of the infusion olive oil, that annatto olive oil, and of course you would strain out the herbs, and then you would put the rest plain olive oil, because of course this is our lavender essential oil. If you put too much of your infusion, it might be too dark, might not be the desired color. And I'm just going to mix this until it is fully mixed, and so we can move on to our next bar. And so you will see, and when you pour the oil from your infusion, that is not indicative of how the color will look in the mold, because lye will make the soap color morph and it will look different, so you don't have to worry about that. That is what it looks like in the bowl, but this is going to be a nice yellow. So I'm going to pour this into my bar. So that is our yellow. It looks pretty orange right now, but it will become a very nice yellow color. And then we have orange. So orange is similar to annatto, and where we're doing a infusion. So instead of annatto, we are doing paprika. So the same thing, you would take a jar and you would put couple tablespoons, how much you want, of paprika into the bottom of the jar. Fill it up with something like olive oil. You would heat it in a crock pot full of water, and it would give you this nice orange color. And like I said, we're going to be doing, this is 1 ounce of infusion. You can also use something like turmeric to get a nice orange color. If you don't want to do an infusion, we're going to pour our lavender essential oil and our little lye solution. Got my gloves on and all that. And then we have our orange spatula. Mix this together. And one thing with paprika is orange does a very big color morph in soap. I don't know if you can tell, but it already looks, this looks like blood red. Even though this will be a very pretty orange color, it looks crazy red right now. And that is just because of how color morph is. This looks very red, but this will be a very nice, pretty orange color. So you don't have to worry about that. And of course, these are some things that you can just find in your local grocery store. And these are also at pretty affordable prices as well. So this is our orange. It's all blended. So now I'm going to pour it into my bar mold. Then we have our actual red. Now this is going to be our last infusion, but this is funny because this looks the most yellow. But this is rhubarb. So like I said, a couple tablespoons of rhubarb powder, olive oil, heat it up in a crock pot with some water. 1 ounce of rhubarb for this, and this will make a very nice red color. Now for rhubarb, you can also use a very light amount and it will make a pink color. You know, in my last video where I made that sunset soap, that very bright pretty pink color was made with the rhubarb too, but you want to make sure you use a very small amount because it's just like a red paint or something like that. Adding white will make it pink. And if you want to do a clay, you can also use red Moroccan clay, but rhubarb will give you actual bright red. Red Moroccan clay will be a little bit more of a brick red. Lavender essential oil, red spatula, our lye solution. As you can already see, even though I've only blended it a very small amount, it is already a very pretty red color. I'm going to pour it next to the yellow because it does look very red. Now that we've got the infusions out of the way, let's move on to our green. So for our green, we're going to be using French green clay. You've probably seen this in a lot of my videos, but all this is just regular French green clay. It's a light green powder, and we're just going to put it into our oils. So we just have regular olive oil in this little batch. We don't have any infusions because it doesn't need it. We've got our essential oil. For green, you can also use spirulina and matcha powder. This is my lye. Spirulina is very good for your skin. It does smell interesting, but of course it won't leave a smell in your final soap. I like French green clay because it does give a nice vibrant green. It doesn't bleed any. Now this is blended. This looks kind of a little bit more of a dull green, but once we pour this in our mold and it sets up, this will become a very nice, vibrant minty green. So of course it is deceiving right when you pour it. And we're almost done. We're going to do our blue next. Now blue, if you've been following my channel, you know has been a pain in the butt and hasn't been easy to figure out. But we've got, of course, our trusty indigo powder here. I've used Serbian blue clay. I've used a lot of types of indigo powder. And this is the only thing that has worked for me. This is called Tinctoria Indigo. This is the type of indigo that is blue. It won't turn your soap green or gray. What you do is you take some indigo. I'm not going to use all of this. This is too much. Normally you would probably take about 1/8 a teaspoon, and for a bar we would probably only need even a couple specks of it. This is very strong. You take a little bit of the tinctoria, you put it in some distilled water, you heat it up a couple seconds. You want to have clear essential oils. You don't want to have anything that's brown or yellow or orange, because that will make the soap turn green. Normally with blue it accelerates the soap, but of course you just want to make sure everything you're using with indigo, especially if you're making a larger batch, is cool. So everything in here is cool. Our blue spatula, and we're gonna pour just a little bit in, and then we're gonna just test it. We've got our lavender essential oil, just like I said. It's a clear essential oil. Our lye solution. Just mixing this some. You can already see just that little bit. Now this is like something similar to charcoal, where a very little goes a long way. So you do not need a whole lot. If you put straight indigo powder in your batter or something, it's going to be gray. So you want to do it in water. Okay, so now our indigo is all mixed, and though this does not look super promising right now, this will make a nice blue color. So I'm going to pour this into my mold. And then last, but certainly not least, is our purple. Purple has also been a hard thing to find. I'm going to do a video soon testing making purple again with indigo and rhubarb, now that we know how to use indigo better. But you can get a stable, consistent, very nice purple with something called purple Brazilian clay and the intense purple Brazilian clay. I get mine from a place called Rainforest Chica, and she sells intense purple Brazilian clay. And we're going to put this into our oils. Lye solution. I don't have a purple spatula, so we're going to have to do with pink. That's fine. And then we have our purple. So I'm going to pour this, and then we are done. Some honorable color mentions are charcoal. Activated charcoal for black works really well. Just use a little bit, of course. Brown, you can use cocoa powder. Pink, you can use calamine powder or pink kaolin clay. And like I said, you can use a little bit of rhubarb infusion, just a lighter version. Of course, gray is just a little bit of charcoal, just a very, very small amount to get that lighter black gray. And then if you want white, the best way to get pure white soap is to make use very light colored oils like coconut oil and shea butter, and don't use any colorants and clear essential oils, because soap is very white naturally if you use light oils. So best way to get white is to just be very pure. So I'll definitely be back to show you the final results. But if you enjoyed the video so far, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below where you're from. I love to see that. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.